All right, welcome back to College Football Addiction. I didn't get a chance to chat with you guys about the Colorado game last week. Just doing some traveling. They lost, obviously, to Kansas. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk also about their matchup with Oklahoma State this weekend. Might try and get some more videos out like this. Might not be able to. But listen, I appreciate you guys tuning into College Football Addiction. It's Thanksgiving Day, or you're watching this on Friday, Black Friday. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving with your family, or if you're watching this on Thursday, hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving with your family. Something that's obviously way more important than football, but hey, I know that you guys love football too. Check out the Polo, College Football Addiction. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking it out. Obviously the game against Kansas, just nothing really went right. They had some chances. They did cut the score down at 23-21. You kind of thought like, okay, here's the shot, here's the chance. Never really got anything going after that. Defensively, just not there, not in the game. Truly a blown opportunity. Coach Prime talked about this a lot in the press conference. He actually admitted something that was pretty surprising to me in his press conference. Talk about that in just a moment. But man, you had the perfect opportunity to go in and claim your spot there in the Big 12 championship by winning last week, and then obviously winning as a big favorite against Oklahoma State, which we'll talk about Oklahoma State here in just a sec. Just, to have that chance and not be able to capitalize on is really tough. We'll talk about the scenarios to maybe get back into that Big 12 title race in just a moment. But Coach Prime did admit this, and it was interesting to me that a lot of coaches say, oh, we've moved on, no big deal. What I love about Coach Prime is how honest he is when he talks about what's going on with his team. A lot of coaches would say, hey, man, yeah, we've already moved on past that. We're already done with that. We're already, we're focused on the next team. And Coach Prime talked about how hard it's been for his team, because he does care about them so much, because he does appreciate them so much and want so much for them, how hard it has been for them to move on past this. And I thought that was pretty real. He wants it so bad for the kids. He wants it so bad for his team that I thought it was cool to hear him talk about that and really be vulnerable and open up about it. Listen, this Oklahoma State game this week is their chance to get back into it and to get back into what they need to do in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, Coach Prime gave them some love in his press conference. They're just not a good team. And there's a reason that Colorado's a huge favorite in this game. There is a talent disparity here. There is a big-time difference in the caliber of team and talent that you've got right now. And Oklahoma State's a talented team with a good coach, and they're a good program overall, but they're not a great team this year at all. 117th in scoring defense. That, a reminder, there's 134 teams, so they're one of the absolute worst. They're 132nd in rushing defense. That's literally 2 away from the worst in college football. And they're 128th in passing defense. Their defense is absolutely atrocious. There's no reason that Colorado should not be able to score at will, right? They get 10 possessions, they should be able to score on 8 of them, right? Even if that's kicking a couple of field goals, they should be able to score quite a bit. Offensively, they are so one-dimensional, Oklahoma State is. They're 17th in passing offense. They've got a pretty good passing attack, but their rushing offense, really bad, 112th out of 134 teams. They are very one-dimensional. If Colorado's defensive line can get home, if the secondary can play the way they're capable of playing, I think they'll be in really good shape. Teams that give Colorado trouble run the ball extremely well. Look at last week. Look at the way they played against Kansas. A really good rushing attack. Neal obviously goes off and is the difference in that game. I think this is a matchup that very much favors Colorado because of the style that Oklahoma State plays. Listen, it is 40 degrees outside. I left my jacket inside. You can see the sleeves are off. I'm in the mountains of North Georgia. If you're watching this, Buffs fans, Oklahoma State fans, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. We'll break this game down likely on Friday night before the Saturday action happens, but make sure you're subscribed if you want to say thanks for me doing this out here on the porch in North Georgia at 40 degrees. Oh, I'm surprised you can't see my breath, but I can see it here, but I think just the camera doesn't catch it. I like Colorado in this matchup a lot. We'll give a prediction here in just a moment. We'll talk about some scenarios. I do also think that you're going to see Travis Hunter have a nice day. I know they say they're not force feeding him, and I believe that. I just think that he's the best player, and so he magically ends up with the ball most of the time because of how good he is. I think he continues to put distance between him and the guys behind him in the Heisman race. His chances, I will say this, we had some people on recently, and we've talked about if anybody could unseat him. The fact that Colorado might not be playing on Big 12 Championship Saturday, does that end up hurting him if Cam Ward or Dylan Gabriel just goes off in those games? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'd buy that just yet because I think he's going to have such a big lead before we get there. And the Heisman Trophy is not just 1 week's performance. So him playing one less game should not disqualify him. That it would kind of be the kind of thing if guys were super close, maybe they could jump ahead of him. I expect him to have a good game against a terrible defense. I expect Hunter to be able to get off, be able to get anything he wants in this game, as I expect anybody else to. Sounded like Coach Prime had some optimism around Jimmy playing, so that'd be really cool. But they've got, there are enough weapons on this team where everybody should be able to eat. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Travis Hunter scores a touchdown in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored multiple like he did last week. I think the offensive line plays a lot better this weekend. Again, this is a defense that is pretty bad. I think it's a defensive line that has struggled at times when you look at Oklahoma State. And so I think the offensive line, they've struggled some last week. I think they'll bounce back a little bit. Seton had a lot of penalties last week. I think that was kind of frustrating for Buffs fans to watch. You got to remember that he is a true freshman. I think he'll be better this week as well. What about the path to possibly getting back to that Big 12 championship? Certainly not an easy thing. Certainly not something that I'm going to tell you is just, that's really likely to happen. The best news for the Buffs, in my opinion, is twofold. Number one, it's the fact that they play on Friday. And so they can take care of their business on Friday and then just sit back and the pressure goes to everyone else. See, because if the Buffs lose on Friday, everyone else has it a little bit easier because they don't have to worry about Colorado right behind them. If the Buffs win on Friday, all that pressure, they know, the other teams know they've got to win because Colorado's nipping at their heels, right? Colorado took care of their business on Friday, so business has to be taken care of on Saturday. That's the first part. The second part is, with how crazy the Big 12 has been this year, it's not that crazy to think that a couple more upsets could happen. What does Colorado need to happen? Right now, they're behind BYU, they are behind Arizona State, and they're behind Iowa State. They're behind all three two-loss teams due to tiebreakers. If two of those teams lose, you don't need all three to lose. If two of those teams lose, Arizona State loses to their rival in Arizona, BYU loses to Houston, Iowa State plays the toughest of the three opponents in Kansas State. Just two of those teams lose. Let's say Kansas State gets a win against Iowa State. Would not surprise anybody there if that happened. And then one more of those other two happen. A rivalry game with Arizona and Arizona State. BYU continues to drop. Houston's probably the worst team out of all of these, so I don't expect that one. But those are who you need to cheer for if you're a Buffs fan. Cheer for Kansas State, cheer for Houston, cheer for Arizona, and then obviously you need Colorado to take care of business on Friday. What happens on Friday? I think the Buffs win this thing going away. I could see them winning this thing by 28 points. Give me something like 42-14. I think they absolutely take out frustration from last week. I think they win big. I think they get to their 9-3 season and then maybe make the Big 12 championship. If not, they go for that 10th win in the bowl game. Listen, let me know your thoughts down below. Again, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you tuning in to College Football Addiction.